Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Dive Podcast. I'm your host, Molly Mo. Hope y'all had a Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. You know what I'm saying? I hope everything went well. Hope your gift giving was spectacular. Shout out to Greg Zerloin. That was my major gift for the weekend. And then I hope your family and everybody, you know, had a healthy and safe and a merry time with the loved ones and things like that. But y'all know why we here. AJ in the building, Dre in the building. Fellas, first off, before I even get started, Dre, we was going through some similar things on Sunday. Different reasons.
Yes, sir.
Different reasons, but we was going through it on Sunday, bro. How are you feeling?
Hey, I'm much better. As you can see, I got a drink in my hand right now. So that means I'm feeling better. I couldn't do that this weekend. You know what I'm saying? I was out of commission, brother.
Yeah, I may have to go ahead and hit the fridge right quick when one of y'all talking. Get me a little drink, man. But yeah, I know you was going through it. I'm glad you're doing well. You know, shout out to Christmas parties. Lord knows I watched all but 15, 16 minutes of the game in real time on Sunday. So if you ain't missing that. Yeah, I'm about to say if you was wondering where was the post-game show, completely blame me. AJ was like, where we at? I can't help you, bro. I'm out of it. I can't do nothing. All I can talk about is Brissett. That's all I can do. AJ, what's going on with you, player? How you feeling?
Cooler, man. Just hopefully none of y'all cooties get spread through this damn show we doing tonight.
Hey, you'll be all right. Put a mask on.
Yeah, put a mask on.
Nah, that's what y'all should have did beforehand.
Hey, Monty Hawk, I see y'all in the chat. Monty said, I ain't missing nothing. It was pure entertainment. That's great. First off, before I even get into that, administrative items, as always, man, if you are new to the Trap or Dive side, man, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. They have comments now on Twitter, right, on the StreamYard side. So if you want to stay on Twitter, you can it's perfectly fine. Stay there, man. We're gonna see your input on the conversation. But if you want to be a part of the show, this is an open show. As we're going to try and do that for the last 2 weeks. So this week, next week, yeah. 3 more weeks, I think.
Hey, Mo, so we got the Spotify thing fixed. That's all good now.
Yes, so we got the Spotify thing fixed. We got the Apple Podcast thing fixed. I ended up barking up the right trees, thank God, and they was able to take care of things because Lord knows my blood was boiling. And the people who was actually supposed to help take care of this for me didn't do a damn thing. So I'm just glad I was able to help get the thing settled. So we're good to go. I got an announcement down the line, but we'll take care of that when the time comes. Anyway, like, subscribe, audio side, rate, review if you haven't done that, man. We definitely appreciate that. Link to join the show is in the YouTube description. We will start taking calls like around 7:35, something like that. So we want to make sure that everybody get everything off their chest on the panel with AJ, Dre, and myself. So with that being said, man, I had a lot of catching up to do this morning. I went through the Sam Howell snaps, his reps. And that game altogether was abysmal. I don't think I ever seen. I'm sorry. I don't think I ever heard because I was half asleep when it was going on. I heard a pick on the second play of the game. I heard the block punt. I heard Jamison Crowder fumble. I didn't even know that he returned it 30 yards before he fumbled. I heard Breece Hall house a 30-yarder. The next thing I know, you're down 27-7, or maybe 20-0 at one point. I know Chris Rodriguez ends up getting the 12-yard touchdown run to make it 20-7, ultimately going down 27-7 or whatever. It was one of those games where I'm looking at this and I'm saying I understand the Josh Harris mantra at this point. Like, let Ron play everything out. But as bad as you get down to the New York Jets, I'm like, oh shit, they may put him out of his misery like after this week. Like, what does 2 more weeks have to do with anything? Like, it was that bad. And I don't want to get down to Ron firing point because that's not the big conversation right now. We know what's going to happen with Ron, right? But I think the big conversation is something that we all know at this point. Ron Rivera benches Sam Howell for the second time in as many weeks, where we had this conversation last week, not verbatim. I may not remember the words, fellas. But I know we said that if this happens again, this was a bigger conversation than we would anticipate from the standpoint of like, Ron, you said a lot heading into the season. You said a lot in the middle of the season when he had statistically a very good stretch run. And he performed well. I put the YouTube film out there. I'm not going to discredit him, but then you doubled down and said that they found the franchise guy and you benched that franchise guy twice. Fellas, I'm gonna give y'all the floor on what you all. I don't know if you caught up on the game, Dre. I don't even blame you if you didn't. It's whatever. But I'll give y'all the thoughts on what happened Sunday, and we can kind of get into the Howell thing.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for me, I didn't really have much to do on Christmas Eve, so I ended up catching the whole game. Well, I did have something to do. I got invited to a party, but I was like, let me stick around to watch the game because we'll probably have to talk about it or whatever. But, my 2 partners here end up getting sick with the cooties. So yeah, they had me sitting through misery that I could have walked away from. But unfortunately, I did see the full game. From the full game perspective, I mean, with Ron Rivera, like we talked about with last week's conversation, that was the last leg that he had to stand on. Like, that was the last leg of his chair, his table, whatever the case was with Sam Howell. Benching him again just further proves that this guy has no clue what the hell he's doing, what the hell he's talking about, what the hell he's evaluating. And there is no more table. There is no more chair. Like my sub caption or sub title says, sorry, Howlers, it's over. Your fan club is over. You can do all the ranting you want to do on Trap or Dive, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever you want to do. Message boards, you could do it as much as you want to. There will be a new franchise quarterback of this organization going forward. and Sam Howell is going to be relegated to the third team if he stays within the Washington organization, because you can't even have that man be a number 2 in Washington, because he needs to still be taught the game, catch up to the game, work on himself. I wouldn't even put him in as a backup if someone got hurt next year. You feel me? Like, you need a better quarterback room. I think that's what Sunday solidified. Shout out to Greg Zuerlein, as I tweeted in the moment of him making the game-winning field goal. Please go and donate to his charity of his liking. You still got time to do so. He saved this organization from not possibly having a top 5 pick to securing at least at minimum a fourth overall pick in this draft. I just feel like, man, the team is ass, you know.
It seemed like they quit too, like before Brissett came in, which was weird, but because it's like, and it happened last week too. Like, the effort, where did the juice come from? And I don't want to like specifically put it on a quarterback, right?
But you should.
What I'm saying, I'll let you finish. But I was like, what I'm saying is, like, how do you, and I actually get your angle too, AJ, not on second thought, but it's like, how does it get to the point where nobody even feels like playing, and like you're allowing the lead or the competitiveness that the team does have, like in some places, like it just submerges and disappears and just diminishes altogether, all because like you're not even able to do anything on one side of the football.
I mean, I feel like the reality
Granted,
is,
the defense ain't good, but
reality is they know the defense isn't good. The guys on the defense know it's not good. But you also know that the other side of the ball offensively isn't good and isn't going to put up points because of your quarterback. Like, the reality of the situation is defensive coordinators around the league have caught up to Eric Bieniemy trying to mask Sam Howell's deficiencies. And that is limiting from them being able to push the ball really downfield or be progressive as an offense. So due to that, if you play on that team and he's the starting quarterback and keeps being put out there, you feel like you don't have a chance to win. It's kind of like going to play pickup basketball and you got next, but the 2 other people got next as well that you playing 3-on-3 with, and you seen them play. They can't hit a shot. They can't dribble. They can't do anything but get in some cardio and run up and down. Like, you already know that you defeated. Now, if one of them get hurt and someone you seen balling earlier now joins your team, you got an extra pep in your step and you feel juice and you feel like you got an opportunity to actually compete. Because the reality of it, Mual, is Jacoby Brissett being put into the game, it not only brought an extra oomph to the offense, it also brought an extra oomph to the defense. Them guys started flying around much more. They were playing faster. They were trying their best to make plays to get the ball back in the hands of Brissett to ante up the score, because ultimately these guys are competitors. They want to win. Honestly, as fans and us rooting for the best draft position don't want them to win, but they want to win. Like, they almost pulled it off. But you could see that Jacoby Brissett being put in the game twice, not one time, twice, has pushed that team to another
2 different
level.
Circumstances. One people tried to make the case that it was garbage time and the Rams were playing soft, and that's what allowed them to get back in the game. And then you get a second time the very next week where Jacoby gets in towards the tail end of the third quarter and he does the same exact thing against a much better defense.
Yeah, like, the Jets are a top defense in the league. Like, their offense is poo-poo, but their defense is no slouch. You feel me? And Jacoby Brissett was able to dissect it. And I think it also speaks to the difference in leadership. That's not to say that Sam Howell can't be a leader, but Jacoby's a bit more vocal with it. He's able to reach across the aisle. Sam Howell is a very reserved individual, and he's not going to lead the way that you ideally would want your franchise quarterback to lead. And I'm only saying franchise because that's what Ron Rivera put on him. But he was doomed before the season even started, bro. Like, We talked on it so much, man. To ask a 5th round quarterback to come into this situation and be the catalyst to lead this team, it was already doomed for gloom. Like it just made no sense. But overall, man, I'm just glad that this is almost about to be over. These guys can, start planning their vacation. Moving companies can start to help Ron Rivera with his arrangements. And we can start focusing more so on what is going to happen with this front office hire, head coaching hire, and also some draft talk, alongside, other people that we interviewed before their their views. And also we got two of the main prospects that could possibly be on the table for Washington being guys from our own backyard. That went to Gonzaga, and Olu Fashanu, the left tackle out of Penn State, and Caleb Williams, the quarterback out of USC. So, yeah, I think that's the benefit, man. Hats off to them for pulling off the L. And I don't even got to say keep it going because it's just going to happen over the next 2 weeks, no matter what.
Look, man, all I gotta say is thank God they lost that game, because that got a little nerve-wracking for a second there, man. When we were watching Sam Howell and them, the offense go out there, like Mual said, you go down 27-7. In my mind, I'm like, all right, we good. Even when Jacoby Brissett came in the game, I did expect him to play better, but I did not expect him to lead a damn near comeback win. I mean, he almost did it last week. Yes, I mean, he almost did it last week against the Rams. He just didn't have enough time. But this week, I mean, he had, like you said, he came in the third quarter, and I gotta ask this more because I didn't look up the box score, the stats. Has Jacoby Brissett scored a touchdown on every drive he's been in, or at least has the team every drive he's been in? This team has scored a touchdown.
Minus the one where they punted towards the end of the Jets game, where they punted the ball back to the Jets.
Right. At
but
the end,
but the ones that mattered, where they were trying to actually take, he scored on every drive.
Yeah, they scored on every drive, which is insane. Like I said, it's not expected, and it's even to the point where you can't even throw it out as some kind of fluke, as the defense isn't preparing for them, because we've seen backup quarterbacks come in the game, to relieve a quarterback, and he comes in and he looks like ass. He looks like he's the backup for a reason. But Jacoby Brissett, it's just crazy because he comes in and it just looks like night and day. And like a couple of weeks ago, I would have told people they were crazy if they were saying guys quit on the team or quit because Sam Howell. But I mean, I think there's some validity to it. Like, I think that guys were getting a little frustrated out there with Sam Howell. I mean, not Sam Howell the person, but more so what's been going on this season. I mean, think about it. The offensive line has been called every name under the sun because, Sam Howell's taking some of these sacks. A lot of fans, kind of don't know what they're watching, and they thinking that all of these sacks are because the offensive line is just trash. So, these guys see that stuff. Charles Leno's wife sees that stuff. Yeah, I mean, even though Charles Leno didn't play this week, but the offensive line has got trashed all year. Now, granted, they aren't a good line, collectively, but they aren't the worst line in NFL history, as some of these fans will have you believe. But not even just them. The wide receivers, Terry and Jahan, have been getting blasted all year. Terry, this is the first year that we've seen Terry kind of catch a lot of slander, and folks are now saying, this guy can't get open. He's not this, he's not that. Terry's played with worse quarterbacks to still put up numbers, and he's seeing this stuff. It's frustrating. We've heard his press conferences, the after game stuff. He's making subliminal little remarks. Terry's never going to be the type of guy that's going to go scorch the earth and just start, trashing guys. But those guys feel that stuff. And when it comes time to games, maybe they aren't running full speed at this point because they're like, well, damn, maybe he's not going to see me if I'm not his first read, or if his first read isn't open, he's not going to be able to come off of that to get to me. So guys may not be running as hard. Guys may not be blocking with that extra authority. And then when Jacoby Brissett comes in the game, they look like a whole different team. I mean, Jahan Dotson's getting involved now. Terry's getting season highs with Jacoby Brissett coming in the game. So, I mean, you just got a whole different element there. And those are the things that's been a real indictment on Sam. I know last week, like you said, some of these guys, they were coming out and saying, oh, well, they were playing soft coverage or prevent. They're not ready. But 2 games in a row, man, I mean, it's hard to kind of run from that. And Ron Rivera, honestly, I mean, they should start Sam Howell for the rest of the season. I mean, I don't know what he's going to do. I feel like they're going to start Jacoby Brissett for the rest of the season because of what they've seen. But at this point, it's like you took Sam out 2 games in a row, And essentially the reason was you wanted to protect them. That's kind of embarrassing to me as a quarterback because it's not even about a protection thing. To me, it's like you're saving him from further embarrassment. Like that's what this is all about. Like you don't want this guy to get further embarrassed at this point. And you have to think if they're benching him mid games, they're having these conversations with each other in coaches meetings behind the scenes. They're having these conversations with each other.
It's been going on, bro.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he done lost most of the coaches. Like,
right.
I'm sure they've been like Eric Bieniemy, the QB coach, has been like, bro, we aren't going to be able to get this done with him. It's clear as day that the offense has been handicapped. Like, so it's even further impressive on Eric Bieniemy and Tavia Pritchard, the quarterback's coach, of what they've been able to produce with Sam Howell. That's why I don't like the conversation about Bieniemy so much. Like, I'm not saying he's perfect, but to be able to do what he's done with someone that's limited and not being able to read coverages pre and post snap is impressive as hell.
And that's another guy. And I was just gonna finish, but that's another point with Eric Bieniemy. That's another person whose name has been dragged through the mud. Now, granted, even at the end of the season, we're still not going to have a definitive answer on Eric Bieniemy. I mean, you could fall back on his resume with the Chiefs and everywhere else he's been, but here as the primary play caller and him having this exclusive tag, you still don't really have a clear answer as to what he can do on his own because of how this season has unfolded. And that has to be playing on Eric Bieniemy because we've been talking about that. This is a gamble for Eric Bieniemy. Like, honestly, I haven't been the biggest Eric Bieniemy fan this season, but I might be apologizing a little bit to him because it's like maybe he has been so handicapped with this offense. Maybe Sam Howell has been kind of holding him back in a sense that he's tried to mask some of these issues. And Eric Bieniemy has been very diplomatic in his press conferences and everything, to not, throw the quarterback under the bus and all of that. But you have to, feel like this guy, man, I got to protect myself at this point. I got to protect my reputation. And they probably had those conversations with Ron. I mean, just to close this out, my last thoughts is Sam Howell's done. Christmas for the adults. Christmas for the adults is coming January 8th. I'm already counting down. Christmas that just passed, that was fine. That we spend a lot of money. We got kids, we got family, whatever. But my real present is coming when Ron and the circus is leaving on January 8th in 13 days.
So Hawk asked the fellas, did you get a chance to read CJ Mosley's comments post-game on the Commanders? Hawk, I did not. Or maybe I did. I'm gonna read you. Well, not read. I'm not even gonna read it. I just remember.
Is that what AJ sent us? I thought AJ sent us a screenshot of like somebody.
So it was a couple players that spoke.
It was from Michael Carter the second.
Oh, okay.
But the crazy thing is he played against Howell in college because he played corner at Duke.
Okay. Right.
So he has even more familiarity with him. But so I don't know if I read CJ Mosley's comments, Hawk, but what I do remember reading goes along the lines of this. Essentially, they gave him credit and then they criticized them, like a slight criticism that they can give publicly. Just that, he has that live arm. He can make any throw from the field. Like, he's that dangerous from that standpoint. It's kind of similar to how the scouting report came out about Tommy DeVito when we were playing him, and people were trying to, people from within the Washington organization telling people why he's a dangerous quarterback. And then to that point, they kind of relayed that about Sam. And then they said what they noticed in the game had something to do with, if we just keep everything in front of us, play smart and disciplined, but also have good rotations in terms of our disguises, showing him one thing pre-snap and then showing him something after the snap, it can kind of get him looking a certain type of way. It could get him holding the football, and we know that's what we want him to hold the football. So I don't know who said it. I can try and find it when I'm done. But I think the reason why this is important and kind of even understanding the depth in which this is a problem to my opinion, and why I think, Dre, that I don't even know based on how they're saying, even if you think about it, bro, Ron said last week that he would, there's no question you're starting. He's starting Howell next week, meaning this week against the Jets. And then the same situation happens where you bench him and then you bench him for a longer period, and then your response when somebody asks you the same question, you say we got to evaluate, we got to look into things. That's just hey, we're starting Brissett. Like that tells me you're starting Brissett. Like there's no conviction, there was no like second guessing. There was like we're going to look at everything. But last week it was as simple as we're starting Sam. He has to work through this. They gave him that opportunity. Back to what I was saying. There was this play that I shared on Twitter. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Let Maul Tell It. Oh, there's a Twitter handle right there on the thing. And go to my media, and there's this play where the Jets they showed a too high shell, but like a pre-snap motion that Washington ran had it indicated they were in some form of man coverage, right? And post-snap, they rotated the field side safety, so the one that's open, like with all the space inside, on that side, he came down to like I think like a robber roll, I want to say, right? And the boundary side safety stays over top of Terry, who is to the far left running, I think a corner route or something like that. I'm not. What did he run? Oh, a dig. I'm sorry. He ran a deep dig route, right? So to the slot, to the right side of Terry is Curtis Samuel running an over route. And to the far right, to the field side, right, he's isolated. Brian Pregal is. He's running a dig to the middle of the field. So those are the three main routes that you got to pay attention to. Point being that single high safety who is in that too high shell pre-snap up until the post safety post snap, right, is over top of Terry McLaurin, where you have Curtis Samuel essentially one-on-one. I think, and this is going to be on the film session. I think it's going to come out tomorrow, if not Thursday. You'll be able to see it and see or understand what I'm talking about. And I'll kind of like show that play more in depth. But I think that play was important to show. If you all saw that on Twitter today, this is going to help generate the conversation. There was people who said that there was nobody open on that route, right? And to some extent, I agree. I don't disagree with the fact that people think that people weren't open, right? But I think the bottom line in understanding two different situations or some situations that gets Sam Howell in trouble was the fact that you had Curtis Samuel who won inside, right, and created some separation to the point where he is having a step on the defender. He won inside, and now he has a step on that deep over. Remember what I said, that single high is now over top of Terry. He's just occupying Terry, who's running the dig. Curtis Samuel is now only one-on-one. That other safety who came down has no idea where Curtis Samuel is, right? And the reason why this is important is because when you're locking in on Terry McLaurin, which Sam Howell did on this play, you miss out on the opportunity to understand that your safety that you're keying on has no idea where Curtis Samuel is. Like, he's already out leveraged. He's not in position to defend the over route. So at this point, when you look at certain quarterbacks and you look at how a quarterback can help receivers, even though they appear to be covered, that is where you're talking about a quarterback throwing a receiver open. And for Howell, who's in a situation who he's done this before throughout the season, that is not a rare criticism of Howell, right? That is a situation where you're talking about a person who, I don't know if he got confused and thought that it was still a too high shell or cover two man. I don't know if he thought that, but for him to not understand where the safety was or even know where the other safety went is part of the problem where you look at how you're saying, I wish that we can get to the point where we can make a play for our receivers. Like if you complete that pass, you're talking about, not completing, because you don't even know if it's going to be a completion. But if you make that throw, you're talking about giving your receiver a chance with one-on-one, and there's nobody over top of Curtis Samuel. And if that's a completion, you're talking about either a big play or even a touchdown. So I think that's one example of where you're looking at a person who I don't know what he's seeing per se. And also, you got to ask the question, if this man is even seeing the field properly in the middle of the field. And that has to do with the fact that he may not be able to see over his offensive lineman. There's plays that I'm going to show in the film session that even shows that part. And I want to make those things clear. Like, there's so many different variables that I don't know, but it's worth sharing to show that, like, this is a part where I don't even know if it's worth playing, Dre, next week against San Francisco, because this is going to get even more crazier. And then you got Dallas next, who is neck and neck with Philly. They're going for the division title, so they ain't benching nobody. And that's kind of where it's like, I don't know if Ron is going to be able to tolerate, like, starting Sam Howell against the San Francisco 49ers, then benching him again, and then starting Sam Howell against the Dallas Cowboys and benching him again. Like, what does that do for Sam? He just know he's gonna get benched. He's like, damn, I hope I make it. I hope I make it to the fourth quarter. I hope I make it. I hope I make it to halftime. Like his mental, he's cooked, bro. Like, he's cooked, and and AJ mentioned it's not fair. Like, he had a bad shake from the get-go. 100% agree. We talked about that already. Like, this is the circumstances that he was dealt with, and in a circumstance where, and I think I've said this once, but I'll restate it. In the circumstances, like, if the new regime had taken over in 2023, like, and everything with the ownership happened last year, and the new regime took over in 2023, I wouldn't even be upset if they went into 2024 with Sam Howell again, with a plan to build around him, right? But this circumstance is out of his control. He had to play good or good enough this year, and like, it's to the point where I don't even know if you see signs of a person that's going to, like, grow out of the bad habits. Muted, Dre.
And I'm about to say, here's the thing, Maul. I mean, everything shook out this weekend in Washington's favor draft-wise. I mean, them losing to the Jets, the Patriots beating the Broncos and catapulting Washington to the third pick. And there's still a chance Washington can end up with the second pick if the Cardinals end up winning another game. So with all of that and a new regime coming in here, they just saw the only people that believed and gave Sam Howell this chance that he had bench him 2 games in a row. And essentially, even though, like I said, last week in Ron's press conference, he didn't necessarily answer the question, but he didn't commit to Howell. Ron's whole tune changed up, and his tune changed up for a reason. We know that. Earlier in the season, as we talked about earlier, he kept saying, hey, we got our franchise quarterback. But when he was making those remarks, Ron still thought he had a fighting chance to maybe come back next year. Now you're kind of seeing how they really feel about Sam Howell. I think the real reason they really couldn't go into this season with another option or a better option at quarterback, or at least a safer option at quarterback, was because of the limbo they have on ownership, and they couldn't really spend the money. I mean, that's why they, you got to think about it. Ron in a make or break year, they stood real pat this make or break season in the off season on not really acquiring talent and free agency on everything. And he also said to us, and again, this could have been kind of just talking himself into it, but he kept telling us that the roster was good. The roster was really good. And I don't know if he felt like that because they were sniffing around the playoffs with Taylor Heineke. And they still essentially pretty much had the same roster, with Taylor Heineke, give or take a couple of guys that you're surrounding Sam Howell with. So I don't know if he really felt like the roster was good, or if he was worried, or if it was a situation where they really couldn't do a lot of upgrades because they were kind of handicapped with hands tied behind their back because of the ownership situation and they couldn't spend money. But either way, Sam Howell got a chance a lot of guys in his position doesn't get. He got that chance, and a lot of fans, they latched on to him, and they attached themselves to him, and they were like, hey, he's going to be the guy. And he had a couple of good performances early on. People got attached to that. People said, hey, he's the guy. They didn't need to see anymore. But these aren't the people that are going to be making the decisions next year. The people that are going to be making the decisions next year, we don't even know that yet. It's a whole new cast and crew, And if they're believing Ron, Ron can sit up here and say, hey, I got my franchise guy. And if Sam Howell is kind of consistently putting those performances on, maybe this new crew comes in and like, man, we can kind of build with that guy. But what new regime is coming in here after watching this guy get benched 2 games in a row by the only people that gave him the chance and the only people that believed in him, and are pretty much telling you, we can't even evaluate the rest of this team with this guy. I mean, that's what they're saying. We can't evaluate this team because otherwise you already kind of know what your ceiling is with a Jacoby Brissett. You know, you don't need to evaluate Jacoby Brissett. You don't need to know if Jacoby Brissett could come in the game and, you know, perform better than Sam Howell. You already know what Jacoby Brissett is. But you went to Jacoby Brissett because you were frustrated at the carrot guy that you had. And you're basically saying, we can't do anything with this guy. So what do you think the next regime is going to come in here and think when they have to make these decisions? And on top of that, you have a top 3 pick likely coming in. I see a lot of fans kind of going to the Bryce Young thing for the Panthers. You know, they're bringing him up and saying, hey, he's
convenient arguments.
Yes, you know, and they're bringing that situation up, but there's a big difference in that situation. First off, the people who drafted Young for Carolina, they're still in the building. I mean, you know, the front office, the regime, they're still invested in him. 2, they don't have a top 3 to 5 pick to ponder as replacement this year. Washington has a top 3 pick with a new regime coming in that's not tied to anybody on the roster, and you have a huge question mark at the quarterback position. It's kind of a no-brainer in the direction they're going to go in, you know?
Right.
I mean,
like that. I said that I was about to talk about that, like, up next, Dre. I'm so confused, bro, because I look at this now. Granted, I don't want to sit here and say like I'm not naive. Like I understand there are several different avenues that a organization can take when it comes to like their first overall pick, right? I know that you can trade back. I know that you can settle at 3, projected 3. We're going to use 3 for this conversation because that's where they're at right now. You can settle at 3 and take an offensive lineman or you're the best wide receiver out there. I know that you can do those things, right? But I think if your priority right now at number 3, as high as you are, if your priority number 1 is not quarterback, bruh, and nothing else, like priority number 1, understand that part. Like, then what are we doing? And that's my frustrating thing because I see so many people like Disco, bruh. Again, like he swears that he swears that he's not making a case for offensive linemen, providing like different perspective. Like I've seen him use those words, and I'm like, bro, like I've seen you literally say out of your mouth that you don't want quarterback, you want offensive linemen. Like I know what you're doing, Disco, but I say that to say like there are people out there who are legitimately making arguments for drafting other positions, specifically in the trenches, and then not only making those arguments, but they're exacerbating like the significance of what will happen if you don't draft them. Like these guys you're not going to be able to keep your quarterback up if you don't draft the guy in the first round. I want the Penn State guy. You gotta get him because then what does it matter if the quarterback can't stand tall? Jacoby Brissett has just played 2 games, bro. Had what? I don't even think he got sacked, bro.
Yeah, I mean, if he did, it wasn't much. It's something you probably can expect. I mean, quarterbacks get sacked in the game, but
man run a 5.5 and got out the pocket, scrambled for 9 yards. Bro.
But this is what they're doing when they kind of talk about these other positions. I think a lot of them are honestly scared to see a young quarterback come in here and look better than Sam Howell because they've been telling us all year long that it's impossible to look better than what Sam Howell has done and put out the good that he's done. And it's also impossible to do any better than he's done because of who he's playing with. So they're scared someone's going to come in here and make them look like a fool when they come in here and look better. And that's not to say a Caleb Williams or a Drake May or a Jaden Daniels, whoever that QB may be, if they go that route, is going to come in here and light it on fire year 1. But they could come in here and look better than Sam Howell year 1, and that bar is not even that high at this point. Like that's a low bar at this point, you know. Like,
and to add, bro, like my thing when I look at this conversation, bro, and the reason I feel like it's important to say, like, this is the one year where I feel like everybody should be all on the same page, and it's incredible that we aren't. Like this is the one year that everybody in terms of the fan base should all be on the same page, and I think that's the one thing that I know like I'm not. When you dive into other fan bases on Twitter, you kind of understand that people are like they're split on so many different things and so many different fan bases, right? But I think when you understand the fact that you don't have an answer right now, and you have a top 3 overall pick, it should be about like unifying in the sense of whoever this quarterback is, we all have that one person who we can get behind and hope that they progress to the point where like this new regime likes them. We want to build around this person. We want to make this work. And I think another thing, another avenue of this conversation that people don't really understand, right? I even heard B Mitch on radio today say, man, if this quarterback don't work, if y'all doing all this talking for this quarterback and it don't work out, don't ever talk to me about quarterback again in the first round. And like that sentiment, right? I'm like this. It doesn't stop at one person. Like I'm not scared. Somebody even said on Twitter, I don't want to be in the Brown situation where we're going back to quarterbacks every 3 years. Well, guess what? They weren't stupid enough to sit here and find alternative solutions when they realized something didn't work. They kept trying. And they eventually, even though Baker Mayfield is not with them, they figured out the quarterback position once they got Baker. They got Baker, then they transitioned into Deshaun Watson. I think it was somebody slightly in between that. I'm not too sure.
Well,
but
Watson was on that suspension. It was Brissett.
Yeah. Oh, Brissett.
Yeah, it was him.
Jacoby. So like you got Baker Mayfield, and then you got Jacoby Brissett. But guess what they were doing when they found Baker, bro? Now they're building around Baker. First off, showed flashes in his first year. He was on the bench. The quarterback, the head coach got fired, and Baker came in on a Monday Night Football game, bro. Got them the dub, and I think he went like 5-5 down the stretch, or like 5-3 down the stretch, or something like that. His next year, he goes to what, 11-5? I have to look at the stats to kind of remember. But my point is, when you talk about situations, because Tyrod started in front of Baker, and Baker was the number 2 quarterback that year, his rookie season. But my thing is, when you talk about the Brown situation, right? They found a guy, and once they found their guy, after years of trying, they was able to continue building around that person. And what you see today with the Cleveland Browns is years of building and developing to the point where you have a solid offensive line. You have Nick Chubb, who's on IR right now, right? But you found Nick Chubb. You got Amari Cooper. You had Odell Beckham, right? And then you got a solid defense, bro, who's top 10 in the NFL, top 5 in the NFL. And you knew that they were teetering on the brink of becoming a really good defense. It was just a matter of time until they found the right coordinator. They got the right coordinator now. Like, those are things when you think about these quarterback situations, bro. I don't care if they miss with that first round pick, bro. It's about finally finding a process and sticking to it, bro. Like, we're not throwing darts on the wall. Like, which veteran can we build in and like save our ship? That's what Alex Smith was in 2018, bro. They didn't want to face the music. They went with Alex Smith like that. They were 6-3, but that 6-3 was bullshit. They were about to be 6-4 against the Houston Texans. They lost to the Houston Texans. They ended up going 8-8 or something like that. Same thing with Case Keenum. They tried Case Keenum. Case Keenum didn't work. He sucked. What's his name gets fired. Now you started Dwayne Haskins. Like so many, and then Ron Rivera, bro. Like he severely mismanaged the quarterback position his entire tenure here. So you got to understand, like, I'm not afraid to go into a 2024 season with a new regime, bro, who's going to sit here and pick their quarterback, whoever it is, right? If they pick another position, we'll have to talk about that. I'm not going to be pissed off, but I think like the process is a really good time to really start fresh with a effective process of going to the quarterback well and figuring out if we can make this work. And if it doesn't work, okay, cool. We tried it. We're going to keep pushing. But in the meantime, it's not going to stop us from walking and chewing gum at the same time. We'll still be able to build our team up while we try to develop this young quarterback.
I mean, you got more than one pick after the first round. That's all I wanted to say. Like, you got more than one pick.
And it's like scared money don't make money, man. Like, you got to take a chance. Like, are you just not going to draft players because some people didn't hit over the years? It's just stupid. Like, it's just stupid mindset. At the end of the day, we all say, oh, we need a quarterback. This franchise has never had, like, really a franchise quarterback. But then when it comes time to do the selection process, everyone wants to act scared. Like, you shouldn't go make a move to go get an elite talent. If you hit, it's the most amazing thing in the world. If you don't, okay, cool. You still got a future to build.
Do it again.
Still get opportunity.
Do it again, bro.
Yeah, you still got an opportunity. So it's like, how could you be scared of that? Like, I don't get it. And that's why there are some winners in life and there are some losers.
And Washington's been losers for 30 years, bro. Like, you mean to tell me you had 5? Think about it like this. Hold on, let me go to because somebody actually said it better than me.
Before you even chime in, like, someone took a chance on an air raid quarterback out of Texas Tech, right? No one was viewing him as the top quarterback in the draft, whatever. They took a chance, and that boy ended up becoming Patrick Mahomes.
AJ, you know a funny story about that? I actually got an argument with a guy. I'm not going to say his name. I mean, because I've said this before. But I was advocating for Washington to draft Patrick Mahomes in the 2017 draft. And I had a guy who loves to watch the draft. He evaluates the draft. He said, "You're an idiot. Imagine that translating to the NFL." In the story.
And it's like everyone's looking at even CJ Stroud this year like, damn, he could really ball. But what is the consensus of Twitter really saying? Don't draft an Ohio State quarterback because you've had issues in the past with other guys or whatever the case is. You can't evaluate talent like that. That's not how that process works.
We can't draft Caleb Williams now because he cried in his mom's arms after the game, and there's been reports that he wants ownership in whatever team that he gets drafted to. That's been debunked as false.
He was born in D.C. Like,
that's another thing.
But him and Olu Fasano went to school together. They
not everyone
football together.
Look. Not everyone is scared to play in their hometown. Like, I mean, some people don't want to do it, and that's fine. That's their prerogative. KD he didn't want to play here. That's fine. KD's still a great player. He was going to be great wherever he wanted to play. But he wasn't. If KD decided he wanted to play for the Wizards, he would have still been a good player. He would have still been a great player. People have to knock this goddamn stigma off that just because you're playing for your hometown, you're not any good. Or you're not going to be good because you're playing for the hometown. Again, like I said, Joe Burrow, that guy, I mean, he's from Ohio, big time Cincinnati guy. He plays there. Guy that went to a Super Bowl conference championship. That shows you it can be done. Like, if the guy can play, he can play.
The guy can play, he can play, bro. Think about the people who was here, bro. First off, John Allen is from the area, ain't he? Like, I mean, that's not quarterback, but
he's from Ashburn. He's from Ashburn.
All right, he's from the area, bro, and whether or not like you think very highly of him, he's a good player. Like he's not a mistake. Like he's not one of those cast offs or people that he doesn't belong to the stigma, right? Who else is from the area that we got? Dwayne Haskins. Like Dwayne Haskins, everybody knew heading into the joint that the powers that be was not the people who drafted him. It was Dan, and the reports was they didn't even expect to get him in the first round. Like they thought he was going to slip to the third, or something like that. I'm trying to think of other people like who really didn't get a fair shake here. Well, Dwayne didn't get a fair shake here, but that's not his fault. Like he just got drafted early, and there you go. But point being, man, like you said, Dre, it's the player, bro. And if the player overcomes like that idea of like having that home team. Or that hometown like feeling and that pressure on him, and he can deal with it. Like, okay, I remember AJ. I think you said something online sometime back. Like, bro, like USC is as big as it gets, and you had NIL money,
bigger market, market.
You had a bigger market.
My man is driving a Lamborghini to fucking school, bro.
Hey, don't tell our fans that because that's another reason they're gonna add to not wanting Caleb Williams.
So it's crazy, bro, and that's kind of where I'm like, think about it like this, bro. This is what I was gonna get to too. Somebody mentioned, where is it at? All right, here we go. Heath Schuler, Patrick Ramsey, Jason Campbell, RG3, Dwayne Haskins. He says, fan base knows we were screwed up. In terms of my point of, I don't understand why this is a debate to begin with.
5 quarterbacks in 30 years.
5 quarterbacks in 30 years. 1994, 2002, 2005, 2012, 2019. We know Dwayne Haskins, we just kind of elaborated on that. RG3 meddled with, right, for all the reasons that you can kind of go through. Jason Campbell didn't every single season of his career, a whole new different coordinator. Like, and then
First
you're
3
sitting
years.
behind, like all of that noise. Patrick Ramsey, my memory starts to get blurry.
I
That's
can help you with that one.
So do Heath Schuler and Patrick Ramsey, bro.
So first off, Heath Schuler and RG3 were the two highest rated guys that we went for in the draft. I mean, as far as we were drafted in the top 4, the 5, whatever, we ended up getting those guys. Heath Schuler he couldn't play. He just wasn't it at this level. It didn't translate at this level. RG3, we all know the story that happened with that. And then the rest of the guys. Patrick Ramsey, first off, we drafted him late first round. I mean, he was a guy that probably could have went in the 3rd round. I mean, he was one of those guys that, we might have overdrafted him because, we felt like we needed a quarterback at the time. We went out and got him. But the guy was almost like Sam Howell in a sense. He was seeing ghosts. I mean, he couldn't really get the ball out fast enough. He couldn't get, progress past certain reads. But he had those issues at Tulane when he played there. Jason Campbell, as you mentioned, the guy had 3 offensive coordinators his first 3 years. And on top of that, Jason Campbell, I don't think he was ever projected to be a star. He was drafted by a guy who won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks who felt like, I don't have to play rookies early on. He can develop. If I'm going to be here long enough, he'll develop to where he could play in my system and he'll be able to keep things afloat. But of course, Joe Gibbs didn't stay much longer after he drafted Jason Campbell. So he ended up leaving, and Jason Campbell ended up going different places and just being a journeyman quarterback. I mean, but and then there's Dwayne Haskins, the last one. Dwayne Haskins should have never been drafted in the 1st round. I think we all know that. God bless and rest his soul. Then went Dwayne Haskins. But here in Washington, he was not mature enough to be ready to lead a franchise. He was drafted by the owner against the advice of the guys he hires to sit there and scout and watch these players all year long. He bypassed their opinions and he drafted them, and he put Dwayne in a position he should have never been in here in Washington, which a lot of fans kind of, lose the nuance in that. So, I mean, that's kind of the story of the 1st round draft picks that we've had. We've had bad experiences, but the process has never been right here. It's never been right. I mean, for the most part, for a lot of fans' memories, the quarterbacks we drafted in the 1st round, you can kind of tie right back to the owner and Dan Snyder or even Joe Gibbs. I mean, when we're talking Jason Campbell, Patrick Ramsey, and Dwayne Haskins, or in RG3, those guys were pretty much kind of the owner's handpicked guys where the process just wasn't right. I mean, you didn't have everyone on the same page, which is what makes me so excited entering this new phase, this new regime. Like, I feel like at least with Josh Harris, he doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to come in the war room on draft day and say, hey, this is the guy I want you drafting. He strikes me as a guy that's going to hire people to make these decisions, and he's going to stay out of the way and watch for the results. That's what I want my owner to do. My owner's not a scout. My owner's not a general manager. My owner doesn't really know the game like that. He spends the money. That's fine. That's what I want my owner to do. So this is the first time I really feel like, in a long time, I mean, even before my Washington memory can remember, that we're probably going to hire a GM that's going to kind of have full autonomy over the franchise. And that GM should be able to hire a coach with his vision, and everyone should be aligned on who they're selected in the quarterback position. You haven't seen that as a Washington fan. Like you haven't. You can't tell me, you can't point to a year that you can remember before the 90s. Exactly. It's always been a shortcut. You cannot sit here and point to me anywhere where that has been the case here. And that's what makes me excited going forward, because this is different. This is new. And this is kind of how it's done elsewhere in successful places. So that's why I'm not kind of buying into this nonsense of, we drafted Heath Schuler, we drafted Patrick Ramsey and Jason Campbell. I don't care about that. This is a new era. This is going to be done differently than all of those other situations.
Number 3 overall, bro. Like, it's as simple as that. Like, people just I feel like people got to wake up. I understand that, like, you can have different opinions on like what they should do with the pick. I understand that, but at the end of the day, like, priority number 1 is quarterback, bro. And you need to figure out if they're going to trade back and get a quarterback, if they're going to trade up to get a quarterback, if they're going to stand pat, take a quarterback based on how things move. Like, at the end of the day, they need to. It's all about how they're going to acquire their guy. And and how you're going to try to get the ball moving from that perspective. And honestly, bro, and that's why I'm like, we should all be on the same page here. And it's unfortunate to see like people are trying to make a argument like just to I mean, for whatever their reasons are, right? I got blocked today by somebody who said Peyton Manning sucked for the first 5 years of his career, and y'all are quick to give up on young quarterbacks. I'm like, all right, bro. Like,
he did you a favor.
He did me a favor, bro. I said you're just flat out fucking lying. I can't even have a conversation with you if you want to start out the shit lying, bro. Like, what? But somebody had to remind him he was an MVP candidate in his second year, bro. But all right, I can't do it. But point being, man, I feel like we should all be on the same page in terms of like how we're going to do this. And I think that's the process that I'm going to get ready to enjoy. Dre said it. You said it best, bro. Like this, the GM is where things begin. The GM search is where things begin. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. But until then, we have 2 more weeks, fellas. We're gonna have for everybody. First of all, appreciate everybody who's been staying tuned. I see you all on Twitter now. I'm glad they got the comments back in the stream now, so we're able to. If you're all on Twitter, see, man, I see you. Who else we got? I saw Derice. I see you as well from the Twitter side. Appreciate y'all checking in. And obviously everybody, Hulk, and everybody else on YouTube. Mual, I see you. Appreciate y'all checking in too. If you haven't done so, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're not on the YouTube side, head over there too, hit the subscribe button, man. That's where you're gonna see some film breakdowns and stuff like that, as well as the podcast, of course. We're gonna have a new perspective in on Thursday, and I think this is going to be interesting. I don't want you all to. We're scheduled for Thursday. It will kind of like solidify things that day, but it's going to be interesting because there's a large, like a very serious conversation in Jacksonville about Trevor Lawrence, and I think that we all need to hear what that sounds like from a perspective that has nothing to do with Washington or Sam Howell. Just a breather, a getaway from this team, and we can kind of tap into a different perspective and see how you all feel about the situation after we get done talking with the good man Amp on Thursday. Fellas. That's gonna wrap it up for us, bro. Again, film session coming out Thursday, all 32 out tomorrow. The fellas, we will be back Thursday evening as well to talk with Amp, talk a little Jaguars, talk Trevor Lawrence and his situation. It's very similar to Washington's, believe it or not, the way he describes it. And we'll kind of see where things go from there. Dre, AJ, man, I saw, no, that was Marshall. Somebody was talking about Cullaby. I was like, the Wizards game must be on right now, but we'll go ahead and kind of close things out here and call it an evening. With that being said, y'all be safe. Enjoy y'all evening, all that good stuff. Peace.